Artist Journal, September 30th, 2022, Berlin. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. I welcome you back with our triumphant music from Tradscape, which feels like Miami Vice as we scan the digital lines for the latest digital art that crosses our desk. Another great one here in the genre I call contemporary illustration, and I think we can call those teeth contemporary, and that nose ring. We can call that contemporary illustration. Let's come back to that. There are a few things I want to just get to first. First, a thank you to Eleanor Breezy, who profiled this work that I did on Super Rare about a year and a half ago, around the same time that I did that BTC USDT from a couple of days ago that Colborne picked up. I did about like 7 or 8 of these. I came to Super Rare with a bunch of art kind of already, a ton, but I also wanted to do something new along the screenshot theme that I always work on, which is good for me at capturing contemporary events, and I want to capture this historic bull market in crypto. I mean, it was whoever was there, and I assume most of you were there. That's who's left that participates in a lot of ways in Web3, or the people that were there last year, and there are always new people coming in though. But anyway, so this is Etherscan, and thank you for profiling that. It's great to see these works kind of pop up. Colborne has bid. Okay, that shows up in my email. Now Eleonora is profiling this. It's really nice to see your old work show up. So thank you. Also a thank you to Fort Gallery NFT. They have a show on in the open metaverse. I didn't realize the open metaverse, I thought it was all Ethereum. They have a Tezos show on. So how cool is that? It's on Cyber. I am in it. So awesome. Thank you, Fort Gallery, for including me. Art Wolf. And yeah, you can see it here. Just go to their page, go to Art Wolf's Twitter and Fort NFT, and you can go check out the show. So super cool. And what else? Limbo has an interesting thread. I'm not sure if we want to read the whole thing here. Let's read it quickly because it's important. And okay, so Limbo, who you may be familiar with, has been around a bit. I think anime and comic art may still look like it's less prestigious and valuable than fine art. We did everything to move on from real-life stereotypes with Web3, only to come back full circle to same curatorship dynamics. I am a comic book artist, real life, and I think that post-pop art, everything was already allowed. This is a fluid age, but I think if you want to jump the fence and become a respected artist, maybe you have to add some more to your expression, something that is not industry standard but comes from the soul. I'll look for that specific something. He seems a little discouraged. I'll look for that specific something, even though I am totally proud to be who I am, and I think quote-unquote fine art sometimes isn't fine art at all. Well, absolutely. Absolutely. There's more power, craft, devotion in Mobius and Otomo and Miura than in many so-called contemporary artists. Absolutely. Also, the incredible illustrator Gustave Doré suffered hard times through his whole life and career because it was always looked at with superficiality, but fine art by fine art purists. So in the end, and that's changed over time. Time is the ultimate judge here. That is the game we're playing. Remember the Manet that had the ancient river god, which you can see at the Capitoline Museum in Rome, which I highly recommend. That is a great museum, right at the end of Via Corso. Art is a conversation through the ages, and time is the ultimate judge. And Gustave Doré, still famous. We still think of him, and do we look down on Gustave Doré now? Not really. You could put him easily in a museum. I'm sure he's in museums. So in the end, my perception is we're making little steps in the direction of comprehending comics and comic-inspired illustration, but there's also still a lot of criticism and a tendency of disregarding them as art that has less value. Well, I totally agree with this. But we saw Robert Crumb, and Robert Hughes, the late great art critic from Time magazine, very famous back in the 90s, even the 80s. He called Robert Crumb, who is that underground comics guy we're looking at, Zap Comics and more, Mr. Natural, as an American Bruegel, Peter Bruegel. So, so although I think Limbo's right, popular conception of comic art is maybe that it's still not fine art. I think that's changed over the last 10 years, though. But I still agree it's not kind of seen as on the same status as painting. And just a quick thing on that, I wrote this essay 10 years ago. See that? September 19th, 2012. That's like 10 years and 11 days ago. What makes Jasper John's flag painting 1,388 times more valuable than a Simon and Kirby Captain America page? So these both went for auction. This American flag by Jasper Johns went for $28.6 million, and this page the buyer didn't even come through at $38,000 and eventually bought it for $20,000, this original piece of comic art. So I go into that. So it's something I've thought about for a long time. So when I saw Limbo, I'll link this below if anybody wants to read it in the comments. So when Limbo brings this up, I hear you. I think it's a really interesting discussion. One more topic here. Actually two, and then we'll get to some images here, but this is another one. This is on Curatorship. Okay, this is by right-click Save As. I recommended artist profiles to Super Rare, and all were onboarded. They sold for about 6 digits, 6 figures. Super Rare took their percent of their sales, and I took nothing. Decentralized curation is something that needs to be worked on, but real curation and not gatekeeping. There doesn't seem to be much of a model for curation right now. I have mixed feelings about it because in the contemporary art world, curators, I think, started to have too heavy of a hand in the galleries. They started removing all the title cards. That was a classic kind of curator move for the last 2 or 3 years, maybe 4. And then you see stuff like a Magritte, where the title, as we've mentioned many times, is a part of the work, and then there's no title anymore because some curator is doing their latest trend and doesn't understand Magritte enough to know that you have to have the title there, right? So that's just one example of many of how these kind of curators were starting to, they were kind of like DJs. They are like visual DJs, but they're almost taking on too much importance in the contemporary art world. So on one hand, I'm kind of glad to see in Web3 curatorship kind of come down a notch in importance, because I think it's become too important in the trad art world. That being said, I think there is a space for curatorship, and it is an important role, just like DJs are very important in music. Not only do they find the work, the selection, but it's also the chronology. And also the order, it's also the mixing, what's going to go in which room, what story do they tell with these, works, whether music or visual art. So there's definitely a place for curatorship, absolutely. The way I see it is, remember that Fort Gallery we're looking at. If you were to become a quote-unquote famous curator, the way I would see it is you can charge, let's say, then you put on a show and then you charge a Tezos to get in. So if you want to go into that on Cyber Gallery, you have to pay a Tezos and then you can see the show or whatever the show is. Maybe that's a way of paying curators. It's just one thought, but who knows? I'm sure there's a lot of good and bad that comes with good and bad, because then you get less exposure, less people see it. Some people don't want to pay the 1 Tezos, et cetera, et cetera. Read Red Rum. Red Rum is also applying to Super Rare from the looks of it. I have a work that would be perfect for Super Rare, but I haven't even sent my submission yet. So back to this idea, Super Rare has a massive opportunity here. it'll be interesting to see if they capitalize on it. Because if they don't, it'll be very, very interesting. Like, I think they're getting a magical opportunity where a lot of kind of Tezos, artists are trying to get on super rare to make a little bit more bank, and that's what Baziah said. Actually, let's just bring up Baziah's comment here. At the end, he commented on yesterday's video where I talked about this too. At the end, we were just trying to go full-time artists. At least at this day, the only way, at least these days, the only way is to be on more than one chain. Thanks for another great video and for the diffusion, amigo. Anytime, Baziah. And thanks for the comment. And absolutely, like, we're all just trying to make our way here, including me. Like, this is the dream, to be a full-time artist. Okay? So if that means, so you can't be a snob about it, right? I mean, it's a very difficult thing to do. It's like trying to be a Hollywood actor. Okay? So you got to use every means at your disposal. And actually, let's actually quickly touch on One Don't Knows, and then, because it kind of fits with this, and then we'll go back to our contemporary illustration there. So One Don't Knows just put out a work on Manifold XYZ, and I bring him up because he's a very young artist, by the way, because he also comes out of Tezos, and he moved to super rare. So that kind of fits with our theme a little bit, and he's been doing excellent. One Don't Knows. And yeah, and look at his social media feed. I've mentioned it before. It's very smart and very slick, and he does, he gets a lot of engagement, and he is just very, very good at at the social game, and he's also a great artist. I was collecting him before he went to super rare, and everything. So he's a cool dude. In the Bleak of Winter, burn in 48 hours, and you can see here. And so it looks like, so they're being sold for 0.1, is that right? Or maybe it's on Manifold. It looks like it's on Manifold, and it's going for 0.1. So you see, just 0.1 is 133, edition of 50. And he's doing fabulous. Okay, so let's just quickly go back here. So a very cool work by Ezra Eslin, and remember her from Istanbul-based illustrator, designer, NFT artist, the one with the burning piano, who's got a great market, by the way. This sold out right away, and I actually quite like this work. Again, why do I like it? It's kind of odd. It's most importantly, I'm kind of back to this art of the present. It's about the world we live in, and the nose ring, and just this kind of funny, I can't remember what they call that. Like, a lot of hip hop guys have the grill. I think they call it the grill. So this, I guess, is a grill of sorts. And, again, this is just something that wouldn't show up in 1975. Okay. And so to me, this is what I call the genre contemporary illustration. And so when I'm building these rooms in my mind, I go, oh, I have a place for this. And it's got it kind of has her trademark blood thing. So I just kind of like that piece. Sold out pretty quick. Went for 6 at 2:26 Berlin time and sold out by 2:41. So in 15 minutes, I got the last 2. There's 3 left when I jumped on that train. So another interesting work by Ezra Eslin, who's, again, just kind of a moody, a lot of blood and murder, and just kind of an interesting artist to keep tabs on. And also, I thought we could take a look at Evil Machine. You might remember Evil Machine from that watch work. And it kind of fit into this contemporary illustration. You got a laundromat and some flashing kind of GIF colors, and someone who's sweating, or who looks like they were just washed in a laundromat with a surveillance camera. So again, just kind of contemporary. Tears, she was crying and she knew why. Okay, and so now let's keep going here. Also a very interesting series on FX Hash called Blotter, which looks like it's, acid blotter. And you can see the little dividing lines here. I didn't know it went in hexagons like this, or octagons. So I thought we could just look at some of them. I thought they were kind of interesting. And how some of them have this old school, I think it's choose your own adventure. Remember Clown Vamp? and his novel that he's doing that we discussed a few days ago. That's also a choose your own adventure. So it's kind of interesting how we've seen choose your own adventure, which is a total 80s trope or product book series. We're seeing it twice. So it's interesting. It's like the Rubik's Cube. I particularly liked this piece here. Maybe I'll buy it. I mean, it's 6.6 Tez. Again, this is not the octagon. This is just classic square blotter. But just a cool work. I think you can watch it load up there. So a cool series. New work by Myth. This is edition of 100, which sold out pretty quick. Nervous Breakdown. This is Myth 2021 done with Microsoft Paint. So this is almost like kind of unreleased Myth. So interesting just to see it. So I picked one of these up. And let's just look. Now it's selling for $350. So again, Myth continues to have a very strong market. Or maybe for $2. It was selling for $2. And now it's $350. So that sold out right away. A cool 200 Tez for Myth. Geek had another one. And I kind of like this genre of the laptop studio. Okay. So, just kind of a cool work by Geek. 2 Tezos, edition of 6. Did I buy this? Not yet. I'm going to, though. I think. Okay, so more kind of Twitter stuff. Haiti Rocket. 16 billion views. Now, I have a feeling if you have like a 2-frame GIF and it's repeating, that's probably 1 view. Okay, so there are probably ways to amp up these numbers because, 16 billion, everybody should know who Haiti Rocket is in the world, and I don't think everybody knows, but nevertheless, this is a massive accomplishment. Again, I think GIFs, if you have like 200 GIFs that are, 5-frame GIFs, you're gonna get some crazy numbers quickly. But nevertheless, I mean, this guy has gotten a ton of views. So, here we are. Totally rad. So congratulations to him, because that is a massive accomplishment on Giphy. So he is pretty old school, starting on Giphy and Tumblr, I think. So work by LB, this is part of this Hen reunion. I mean, I have kind of mixed feelings about this Hen reunion because this is a great work, by the way. I find it a touch exclusionary to anybody that came after. Hen, I was looking it up. It was November 2021. So does that mean you're not allowed to participate? Someone wrote, and it's kind of true. So I kind of have mixed feelings. I mean, put it this way. And first of all, let me say, anybody that's doing art, and I think we have another Hen reunion piece here. This is Goodman. Anybody who's doing art and celebrating that and having fun, I am entirely for. Okay, this is a nice piece. This is also with the Hen reunion. So I'm all for people having fun and celebrating, but it's a touch exclusionary. And this is the problem with the contemporary art world. And we are hierarchical creatures, okay? Like, the older I get, the more I see everything anthropologically, okay? If I see someone acting weird on a subway, the U-Bahn here in Berlin, I mean, I just see, I see it in terms of, we're some tribe or we're apes, and that's what I see going on. And this kind of, Hen reunion thing, there's an underlying, and it may not even be intentional, but there is there's an underlying, who knows whoever started that, there is an underlying hierarchical, we're the OGs, and I was going to write an essay last year, which I never wrote, but it was called OG, Original Gangster or Old Guard. Because again, we're hierarchical creatures, and I know people are just having fun here, but there is a touch of hierarchy in this Hen reunion thing. So I wish them all the best. But it does sort of get my spider sense going a little bit, because part of what makes Web3 and frankly what makes Hen and objects so great was there was no gatekeeping. Okay, it's a free market. And in a sense, this is free market activity. People can do whatever they want. But I do get, it just sort of raised my spider sense, but some very nice works coming out of here. And final word on this, because this is the problem, is if you came after, or you come into in the last 3 months or 4 months, what are you supposed to, okay, so I guess I can't participate in this one, right? I mean, that's the issue. Like that, and I think, well, that kind of sucks, but whatever. Maybe I'm overanalyzing it, and I wish them all the best. So Sky Goodman, another really nice piece. There's a few left. I'm tempted to get this. I don't have any Sky Goodman, but I'm tempted to buy this. What is it called? Wearing My Sculpture on a Pond of Self-Reflection. And another Hen reunion piece, Before the Fall of Man. This is also AI. So this was quite nice. I think I picked this up. I'm buying more and more AI. Like was it Paul? I want to call him Paul Sims, like that earlier commenter had said. I buy cheap. This one's pretty cheap. A Tezos, edition of 100. Is Ignorance the Ultimate Bliss? So just a nice kind of AI Adam and Eve, a very nice one. So Evo is the artist here, and you can see some of the work. Honestly, that Adam and Eve seems like a bit of a breakthrough work, from what I can tell. I really like that, because part of what I like about the Adam and Eve is it doesn't obviously, it's like an Adam and Eve I've never seen before. And that doesn't mean maybe there is a reference there that I don't know. But anyways, interesting work. Another AI work, I was going to bid on this yesterday. This is by Freaking Hell. And it's funny how, at first when I saw Freaking Hell, I thought, ooh, this is very derivative. But by the, 15th work or so, I'm just like, okay, this is Freaking Hell's. It's AI. There are no rules. The rules are being made. I want to get that work, but I was away from my computer. So I missed that. It only went for $750, this one of one. And I thought, I'm building kind of an AI room in my mind, kind of AI gallery room in my mind. So I thought, this would be a nice one of one. You kind of want a few one-of-ones to make your galleries matter and not copyable. That, okay, we have to go to the Pocobelli collection's AI room because there's a few works there that you can only see there. That sort of idea. Another work by Danielle King, who has been mixing artists, and this is a imagined collaboration between Ruth Asawa and Florine Stettheimer. I actually haven't heard of either of those people, but I thought it was a nice work. So, very nice. Almost done here. This was kind of I think this is an AI of a Syrah, based on a Syrah style. So this was interesting. This is by CH, Crypto Hamster. And I think they do AI as well. And here's that Clown Vamp, Choose Your Own Adventure that I was telling you about. Again, this really looks like AI. Yeah, and you go to their page, it looks like a lot of AI, I think. And finally, another AI by Varia. Looks like it's time to add something to the Homes Inside Out collection. So Homes Inside Out, just kind of an interesting, almost looks like a Hobbit type cave. Homes Inside Out. So just interesting experimentation there. And thank you to Greco, whose work, I have some of Greco's work, who picked up Storm yesterday. Thank you, Greco. That means a lot. And there we go. So until next time, thanks for joining me and take care.